Not my type of gals.
And among the commoners, which are actually starting to thin out a little bit at this point, you see some bar staff who are kind of whisking away empty mugs and plates, who are cleaning up tables, kind of dusting off stools, uprighting stools that got knocked over. The gambling
I've traveled a little bit. Am I seeing anybody in the room that looks like the person I would want to approach to get a room?
Yes, actually, behind the bar, there is actually an old gentleman with the pipe, who definitely looks like the part of an inn owner, who's kind of like wiping down the bar and kind of tidying place up.
This is the guy that I spoke to earlier?
Yes, so
Okay,
this
so
would be Garon, a human.
Garon? Okay,
Yep,
let me get. We have our notes because I don't know that we wrote down what's her name's name. Did we get her name written down?
Are you talking about at the jail, Felicio?
Yes, we do have her name. All right, so then at the Old Boar Inn. God, I got to go all the way back down again. What is this gentleman's name?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the gentleman's name at the Old Boar
his
Inn?
name is Garon.
Garon, Garon.
It is. Wait, where'd it go? There he is. Garaon.
Aon. All right.
So I will point out the gentleman
Okay.
as the pub owner, the gentleman there behind the bar. I think is who we need to talk to about a room. And I don't see my little waitress friend, but I'm sure that she is around and she will help us if we need to eat or have some drinks.
You do see the waitress that you spoke to earlier. She is actually kind of working back in the kitchen area. It seems like they're just kind of winding the kitchen down, kind of getting things put away and all that. She hasn't noticed you coming in, but she is about.
Okay.
Oh, that's an awesome miniature. I like that.
Oh, here we go. That's
Thanks.
Vosh indeed.
Yeah, I got this link for this thing called Hero Forge, and
Mhm.
you can make your own little custom minis. So
Yeah, Hero Forge is awesome.
Nice.
Never heard of them. Writing it down.
what's nice is you can, even without ordering, if you just want to mess around and create a bunch of them, you can. And got 6 or 7 designs I saved just to kind of see what I could do. It's kind of fun.
Nice.
So has someone approached the landlord or the tavern innkeeper or whatever?
So it looked like Anupson, you were gonna kind of go and approach the bar area.
I'm following Caius, and she started heading right towards him. I just was trying to figure out where we needed to go because if it's getting late, anybody who's here is probably staying here.
Yeah.
So Kaya, you get everyone an opportunity to kind of take the establishment in and all that, and then you kind of have the groups lead and can lead them to a table, the bar, wherever.
I'm assuming everyone wants to get a room, so I'm just going to go right up to the bar.
Okay. You approach the bar. Garon sees you again, and like there's like a moment of someone who's like, "Oh yeah, you." And he nods and says, "Welcome back. Oh, you brought friends."
I brought friends, and we're in need of rooms.
Oh. He puts his finger on his lips for a moment and kind of thinks about it. How many rooms do you think you'll all need?
There are 5 of us.
Yeah. One,
At
two,
least
three,
2 and a
4,
cop.
5. Yep, 5.
So at least 2 in a cot, unless he has a group room.
Well, as you guys are kind of talking it out, he says, "Well, I do have one. I have a suite, and it's someone who's like trying to play up something. I have a suite.
Uh-huh.
Essentially, it's a bigger room with a small room off the side of it. But it could definitely room all of you if you like."
I'll look over my shoulder. Did everybody come up to him with us, or?
Did anyone in the group not? Did anyone in the group not come with Kaya and the rest? So it sounds like
We're all
everyone's-
there.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yep.
Yep, just look over my shoulder to confirm.
I have no problem sharing.
I guess we're gonna give this a go then. So yes.
All right. He smiles at that and says, and then kind of leans a little bit close into you, Kaya. That would be 20 silver. And he's almost like abashedly, like he feels kind of bad asking that. You have
I
a
do a
weird feeling
persuasion
either
check.
he likes you genuinely or had heard good things about you from his staff. But he
I have
kind
a
of leans
feeling
in.
he knows. Yeah, I have a feeling he knows some things about her. I'll happily, pay my portion of it.
I'm guessing that we can cover that. Is there still food available in the kitchen in case my compatriots are hungry, or have you closed the kitchen for the evening?
Oh, Garon, he says, we could definitely put a couple bowls over the hearth for a second and warm you all up. Stew?
Okay.
He just kind of looks at all you questioningly. Stew?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anubis nods.
All
As
right.
well.
He
All right, it's a deal.
he yells back into the kitchen, 5 bowls. It's like he doesn't even have to say what it is. And you hear a reply from the kitchen and the food is being prepped and all that. And you exchange coin really quick. Are you guys going to debit the coinage from your character sheets, or would you like me to do so?
I usually
I
can
do it.
myself.
Are we all paying just our portion of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many
You
sil-
can.
So
Do whatever you need to
20
do on my
divided by
sheet.
5 is 4 each. So 4 silver each.
All right. You
I
each.
didn't even have my sheet open, so I'm going to let you do it, Sean. Thanks.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Oh.
All right.
what's that
I
mean?
will, Kaya, I have debited 5 silver from your character sheet.
5 or 4?
It better be 4.
Oh,
dude,
4.
because,
Sorry, 4.
Yeah. Because if you're going to be stealing from her already, she's going to come a little unglued at you.
Sorry, higher math. Okay, there we go.
Now, how many silver pieces are in a gold?
10 silver to a gold.
Okay.
Electrum are,
There we go.
yeah, and Electrum are kind of weird. They're essentially like, I think it's like, wait, is Electrum 5 gold? I'm trying to remember what the breakout was. I usually don't use Electrum.
Well, that's good. I'm level 2. I haven't ever even probably seen one. I'm sure the people I worked for have lots of them, but not me.
I'm going to go scout out a table. And are the.
It's like a 5 note. It's a 5er.
Okay. So it's a 5 gold.
Yeah.
Are the
Or wait, no,
gamblers I
it's-
don't
I'm
approve
sorry.
of still there?
It is 5 silver pieces or 1/2 gold piece is an Electrum. But really, unless you guys have a 5, yeah, you don't. All right. So I'm sorry, what was that question, Kaya?
Are the gamblers that I don't approve of still there?
No, the gamblers have all cleared out at this point. Essentially, the gambling was cut short because of the one individual kind of cleaned house. And then, of course, nature took its course for the remainder, and they've all kind of cleared out.
Okay.
All right. You guys were all standing around the bar. He's
Mhm.
kind of given your group a couple keys, and just about then, what the waitress that you're familiar with, Kaya, kind of like the barmaid, kind of with a bunch of bowls and in either hands, kind of like gestures for you all to sit around the table, and sets the bowls down, smiles at all of you. She even puts her arm on your arm, Kaya, and says, "Here you go, love," and gestures for you all to sit and get some food. It is not the best fare, as Kaya said. This is not great, but considering you've been on hardtack and rations for a few days, it's actually kind of welcome.
I will thank the waitress, and give her a smile and tell her that I will make sure that things are taken care of tip wise, and assure her that we are very grateful for the welcome.
Oh, of course, anytime. She puts her hand on your shoulder again and nods and heads back to go clean up the kitchen. And as she's leaving, she kind of like quietly mouths thank you and heads back.
And I nod and smile.
All right, you are all at a table. You all have some decent gruel sitting in front of you.
It's
It
better
is
than rations.
It is. It's better than the hardtack and rations you guys have been on.
Also, hella better than the remaining leftover birds we've been able to find.
Yep.
Right? Like I said, it's not the best, but it's better than nothing, and certainly better than travel food.
He didn't have to cook it,
That's right. Or
or
clean up
skin it, or catch it.
That's right.
Looks like heavenly fare to Anubis. He's not going to complain. In fact, he'll be eating hearty. All right. So what is going on around us now that things are quieting down?
The inn is kind of wrapping up. It looks like patrons are starting to filter out. Conversations are kind of dying down. Kaya, this is about half the number of people that were there before. For the most part, you're just kind of seeing an establishment that's kind of winding down. People are shoveling out, or the few who do have rooms here are going upstairs. No one that you're familiar with, and not necessarily the adventuring types. They might be tradesmen, but you're not sure. They're going up into the rooms. As for the rest of the patrons themselves, you kind of see that these are farmers, craftsmen, apprentices. People are essentially kind of blowing off some steam at night.
Mm-hmm.
No one in particular stands out like, oh, hey, that must be the magistrate, or this is
Right.
this is kind of your typical commoner kind of townsfolky people.
Mm-hmm.
The general attitude of folks too is it is not a cheery bunch of folks. It's definitely people who are a little bit strained, who came here to kind of blow off steam. This is you do have a weird feeling that there's something that's kind of weighing in on the population. There had been some music earlier, but that kind of died down. The jovialness of that has come and passed.
Is one of the servers nearby? One of the barmaids?
Oh yeah, you could easily fly at this point with the current population. It would be easy to flag her over.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's who I want to ask.
Yeah.
If my little friend comes back, I want to ask her, now that it's gotten quiet and she might have a moment to chat, what the fuck is the deal?
Oh, okay. So you're able to flag her over again. One of her fellow barmaids kind of covers up for the kitchen. She kind of comes over and sits down with you all, and says, "Well, how's How was the stew?
It was as good as it was before. Do you have a moment to chat?
Of course. She sits down and smiles.
Could you tell me what has been going on in town? I'm new, obviously, here,
Hmm.
and it seems like the attitude that I've been observing is one of some weariness in your town. Has there been some sort of problem nearby? I know that coming here, we ran into some trouble on the road, um, and it seems that the town has an air of trepidation about it.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, there have been some strange things happening out in the forests and the lands nearby, and not just the Ashen Plain, but very close to town as well. Um, People and livestock have been disappearing.
As you had
Uh,
said, yeah.
there, some of the farmers have complained of some strange shadows moving around at night. These might be the goblins. We're not sure, but they never made themselves apparent, and we've never
Anubis like
caught them.
almost imperceptibly shakes his head. He's not obviously listening, but when she says it might be the goblins, he kind of like almost imperceptibly shakes his head in disagreement.
Uh, and generally, she kind of relates to you all that there have been some strange stories of people disappearing. Um, Also, when they do find like some dead cattle, they find that they have been like skewered and drained of blood.
Oh.
It's kind of like, and she shudders when she relays this to too. It's very it's
So does
very
Anubis,
unsettling.
because that's just unnecessary roughing.
Uh,
I,
to
I
the and the traveler that aligns very closely with the animal that you saw in the woods not too long ago.
Okay, so he's seen something like this already.
and wasn't she saying to me before that there were some weirdness in the woods and there was I seem to vaguely recall from our last conversation, which to her was a few hours ago and to me was a couple of weeks ago, that there was the alien abduction, mutilation, cattleness, and so basically I'm just asking her to repeat what she told me before for my companions, and I will ask her: is there someone? Is anyone in town investigating these odd things? I mean, I'm sure that the constabulary has,
Oh,
got their hands full, but is anyone doing anything to find out why this is happening in your town?
well,
I mean, barring offending any gods or anything that would send some sort of terror to your town.
she says, well, Felicio, the constable, is kind of actively looking into this. There was an adventuring group that went to go investigate it. Unfortunately, they never came back. The mayor, of course, has sent out for help and sent out for word. I imagine that's what you all heard. That's what brought you here. And when I suggested that you go see the constable, it was for those very reasons that there's just we need help.
Oh,
And you have a feeling that there's kind of like a helplessness, or not necessarily shrill, but yeah, we need help kind of sense from her.
Anubis is going to make eye contact with Vosh. Like, what do you think? Sort of like eyebrow up, Sounds like we found a job without looking.
Yeah, I kind of nod in agreement.
I didn't actually hear anything about any of this until you said something. But I'm looking to learn new things and have experiences. So this is definitely something that I'm interested in. I'm sorry I didn't understand earlier that you were in quite so much um, um, difficulty. But I'm happy to be looking to be helpful now, and I reassure her that I kind of pat her on the arm and um, like it's going to be okay. You know, there are people who will help you, kind of. Trying to be reassuring. Like, I'm sorry I was dense before, and I'll make an effort to be less dense in future, kind of attitude.
She appreciates the sentiment and kind of nods and all that. I generally you have the feeling that it's not so dire yet. It's not like kids are being whisked away in the dark, or huge swaths of people are disappearing and all that. But it's a town on edge with even in the world that you live in, this is extraordinary, and it's people are kind of worried now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be anything that I had ever experienced in his background to see an entire town sort of besieged and afraid. So it's certainly not in Anubis's field of experience.
Would it be something from my background as a haunted one that I'd be a bit more sensitive to?
The issues that are happening here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely sympathize as much as you are capable, or at least empathize with. Actually, yeah, I'm sorry, better words, empathize. You can empathize with what the town is feeling, but I mean that's kind of the extent of it.
Okay.
And you, yeah, there is definitely something strange going on just from what little she has described to you so far.
So the constable is the best person to ask about, where to start with our investigation. And
a very worthy stealth roll, Vash.
Thank you. I just have to
yeah, that's a. And okay, so Bosch, you successfully did the thing you wanted to do.
Okay. Where's would our innkeeper, you think, have a better handle of things than this young serving lady?
Go ahead and make an insight check.
Sure.
Oh wow! Nice. So yeah,
we're using all of this stuff when we.
I know that's what makes me worried.
Oh my god!
So the innkeep is you have a weird feeling, like if you want to ask historical things, he's the guy to go to. Like he just has that I'm going to rattle on about this whole tale and blah blah blah. But when it comes to current events, you probably are in good company with the barmaid here.
Okay. Do I have a sense that she's holding out in terms of details of what she's shared? Is there something that she's kept away?
She's not holding back, but she's also been very superficial with what she's described. You could probably probe a little bit more and ask for more details about some other facts and all that, but she isn't holding back.
So I'm going to try and do a persuasion with her.
Okay.
My friends and I have experience defending ourselves and others, and we're looking for work in this town. And if we can help, we want to. But to help, we really need to know what we're facing. Could you please just, I know it can be hard, but if you could just level with us and tell us exactly what's going on, as much as you know, it would be appreciated.
You definitely feel you got through to her. and
Okay.
she kind of lets out a kind of an exasperated sigh and says, "Well, here's what I've heard said, and here's what I've heard other people talk about." And then she starts kind of going over some details. Also, really quick, can I get a group history check?
Oh, okay.
So all of us roll.
Yep, all of you roll history.
Oh, bummer me.
Oof,
I
yikes.
just
Normal.
Oh, okay.
nice job.
Really? See, and what's his biscuit can't roll.
Yeah.
He has like 10 points in it, 11 points in it, and he still can't roll worth of crap. So
I'm
maybe
not
this
even
is a
from
new
this realm.
campaign. It's a new world.
All right.
I'm not from this world. I know nothing about this place. I am completely reliant upon her goodwill to tell me what's real.
Zariel, could you make a history check?
Oh, I haven't heard Zariel in a while. Are
Shoot,
you
did
there,
we
Rob?
lose Rob?
Yeah, I'm here.
Just click on history on your character sheet, buddy.
I am. I don't like history.
All right. So she mentions the Ashen Plain, and this is an interesting feature that you have not encountered yet.
Uh-huh.
You probably, and it's kind of ominous, and it's like, so you're saying that all this happens on the Ashen Plain? It's like, no, this happens in the forest. And it's like, what's the Ashen Plain? And she's like, well, it's the Ashen Plain. It's kind of scorched earth just outside of town. But you don't, but you're not able to get anything more than just that.
Okay.
The cattle, the stories of the cattle mutilations and animals disappearing. It's cattle. They'll find cattle, but generally speaking, the sense is that the only reason you find their bodies is because they're large animals. Everything else gets carried away.
Mm.
So the few people who've disappeared, or the smaller animals, goats, so on, it's like they're carted off and never seen. But the bodies that they do find, or the wild animals they find out in the woods, again, it's that same kind of like they're seen strung up on vegetation, like they were threaded even by these vines. It's unsettling, and that's by far the bodies that they find, the cattle and the animals, is what scares people the most, because it's just so unnatural to find them
Right.
that way.
Well, Anubis agrees. He's heebie-jeebied right the hell out by that because
Yeah.
there's no reason for it. Yeah, this is not normal. This is not right.
That's
Yeah.
worse than tentacled things from the sea. That's nasty.
Yeah,
Yep.
tentacled things from the sea Anubis can face. That's a creature. It's a thing. Something demented enough that it does that to cattle is something wrong, and it bothers his brain.
Yep.
I
And then,
agree. I agree.
The other thing that kind of comes up is there's actually a mid-summer spectacle, kind of an event coming up here shortly. And one thing that she kind of drops is like, yeah, and the goblins will bring in their magic apple, and she says that kind of in passing, and kind of continues. So I mean, usually, the people are a little bit more upbeat, but I keep feeling that they're going to cancel that the event.
You have parties with goblins?
To this, she kind of pauses. Well, yes, there are two goblin tribes in the area, and the DM, where's the DM's notes on the goblin tribes? Where is it? Where
It was-
is?
It was
Okay.
goblins we were beset upon in the woods on our way here, led by a human brigand, and yet you are allied with goblins here in this town.
So there are two tribes of goblins. In fact, there are two tribes of kobolds in the area too. There is one group of goblins who they call them the wild goblins. I can't remember the actual tribe name. They're likely the ones or outcasts of that tribe were the ones who probably who attacked you. The other group, they're solitary. We kind of coexist peacefully with them. They have never been a serious threat to us. And we do trade with them from time to time. Skins, meats, etc. The two kobold tribes are fairly aloof. One is a little bit more she searches for the words, a little bit harder to deal with than the other. But as far as I can tell, no one in town has ever been killed by them in decades.
And are they also being bothered by the thing in the woods stringing up threat thing?
The goblins.
Are they losing animals farm animals whatever? Do you know? We speak to the kobolds and the goblins we have spoken with. They report the same thing as well. We think the entire region is like this. Huh.
Oh, Bosch, if you need to, there's a toggle at the top of your character sheet that says where the roll will go to, and you can roll that. At least there should be. Let me check real quick.
Is he trying? Actually, when you click on the roll button,
someone turned off the. Here, let me turn that on. It looks like your toggles got turned off. I just need to figure out what those are. Roll queries toggle. Jam whisper toggle. All right, there we go.
All right.
There you go. Those should show up in your character sheet now.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So as far as your group can tell, there are at least 4 different tribes of non-humanoids in the area, with the one goblin tribe probably being the most treacherous. And then finally, there aren't many other details that she can kind of impart. She did mention an adventuring group that was lost. But kind of left it at that.
Does she remember the name of the group or what the makeup of it was?
All right, let me roll that real quick.
Let's see. There was a roguey type one and a ranger type one, and there was a half orc type one, and a couple of maybe fallen angels.
A lot like you, strangely enough.
I'm sorry. It had to be done.
So
no, they didn't have a ranger, so they weren't okay in the forest.
Yes, actually, no, they did have a ranger. She kind of like, oh yes. She's you see her kind of actively racking her brain for a moment, and then like suddenly like, oh yeah, it was. I remember now. It was Talgan and Sharwin Hercule, a paladin. It's like Sir Bradford, really famous in the area, and then one of our hunters, Caracas, went out. This was months ago. It's famous too because the paladin of Palor, he had this magic sword. What do you call it? Pike spittle, spork, shatter spike, and actually, you all can make you can all make intelligence checks, and you can all make history checks. And Traveler, you get to use advantage with your intelligence check.
Shatter strike, did you say?
Shatter spike.
Oops. Shatter spike. Sorry, I hit the wrong one because I'm a dumbass.
And I forgot to activate an advantage.
Please roll it again. Yep, there we go. All right.
And intelligence and history?
This is intelligence and history.
I'm not from here. I have no history.
Ugh.
Did it do my history check that I did?
Wait,
Yeah,
I'm so
it
confused.
did.
We do intelligence? Are we all doing intelligence?
Everyone's doing
Yes.
intelligence. Everyone's doing history.
I'm still stupid in the history department.
So with the history checks, you have heard stories of a famous sword called Shatterspike, and maybe some of Sir Bradford's exploits. And these are like local stories and all that, like rooting out a den of spiders and how this sword was like the spider slayer or whatever. Um, nothing very monumental comes of that. What is monumental though, what stands out is both Zariel and Vosh kind of look at each other at the mention of the names Hukrele. And Hukrele is actually the name of the general store, Hukrele Goods.
Okay.
So that's definitely a standout fact of this kind of discussion. Finally, the only other thing that kind of comes out is this festival. She mentioned that the goblins will bring in a single magical apple that the town will buy from them. The magic apple has a bunch of healing properties. But what's interesting, and again, this is the townsfolk have taken the seed from this apple and tried to plant it. But what little saplings come about are stolen by the goblins. So they apparently are and this is the good goblin group. This is the friendly goblins. They apparently sneak into town at some point to steal this whatever gets planted. And even though the farmers do their best to hide what they planted or kind of somehow the goblins are able to find these and pluck them up. And so that the town, and this isn't a big deal. The apple isn't all that special, but it is a fascinating piece of healing fruit when this happens once every season.
Healing as in just generally, or more like
So
will restore the aged back to life for a length of time?
it is
What kind of
anyone
healing?
who's grievously injured are almost completely healed. It cures disease, and generally speaking, there are only about they can kind of quarter this piece of fruit, and any who kind of eat it are fully restored.
But
when
they get
consume fruit.
one apple?
They get an apple, and about a quarter of the apple is efficacious in curing someone.
But so even the goblins are careful about how much because they only give the town one.
No, they sell the entire apple.
But
Only one apple.
It's only one
so
apple.
anyone can have one apple.
Well, they bring a single apple, magic
one
apple to this
for the whole town.
festival. Yep.
Yeah, one
And
whole apple. Yeah,
it is
they're
one-
careful with this.
Yeah, it's only one whole apple, and people have always speculated as like why it's a single apple, but that is what's kind of a standout about this. But you can quarter up the apple and essentially preserve it for a short while. They have some priests at the shrine who will essentially preserve it, and that piece of fruit can be used to heal anyone who is grievously injured or sick or whatever.
And then they plant the seeds, and then the goblins come in the night and steal the saplings.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
this,
if you try
this
to grow
happens
one.
every year.
Well, if you try to grow one, yeah.
Yeah, they and people who've taken this, the people at the shrine, farmers, like the town, like this, they recognize that this is an amazing gift. But every time and it's like the town doesn't want to accuse They don't want
They
to
don't want
accuse the
lose the
goblin.
opportunity to buy the apple.
Exactly. So it's not like the townsfolk accuse the goblins, because again, there's an agreement that they're not supposed to be doing this. But anytime that they do, the goblins come in and steal everything. So it's just kind of a quiet under the
They don't
table.
kill anybody. They just
Okay,
take
so-
it back. Yeah.
So has anyone asked the goblins if there's a problem with the apples being grown in their area? Because it seems to me that the goblins are propagating a ongoing nursery here in the town. Perhaps their land is no longer growing new saplings, and so they have to get saplings to grow here that they can then replant elsewhere because they won't establish anymore.
It's interesting
Possible.
because the townsfolk and again the barmaid is kind of relaying what people are saying. We've always wondered why there was just one apple, and why they are so
Stingy.
stingy, and they're always kind of stealing the saplings back. But I mean, anytime, whenever there's been a festival and the goblins have presented the apple, it's always been only one. They say, and she's kind of like gesturing with the finger, like there's only one apple, no more, no more.
I'm
So
wondering if maybe, someone should have a chat with the goblins about maybe coming up with a better plan than this. Because if they can't propagate their trees, and that's the reason that there's only one apple available, maybe, someone could offer to grow saplings for them so that all could benefit.
And I'm not certain that that's what I'm hearing, Kaya.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
Well-
possible that they're only allowed a certain number of them.
That
And
could
so
be
they
too.
make a gift of what they've got, and the arrangement. This is magic, which is beyond me. No, I mean not because I can cast some, but this sounds like an arrangement greater than
Oh.
goblins.
Perhaps their gods will not allow them to share more than that. Although I still wonder if
Yeah, no, I wonder.
if there's not some problem, because it seems to me like that whole sapling business is a little bit more than just you grew a
Mhm.
thing that we told you not to grow. You know what I mean? I mean,
no, I don't know.
it seems like they are having. They have to be benefiting from this as well. And
Well, yeah, the people aren't hunting and killing them while their cousins are out hunting and killing people.
well, yeah. So
They're
seems to
making
me-
peace, but yeah.
seems to me like maybe they're in some sort of dire straits as well, and I just wouldn't want to think that they were in need of help and not getting what they needed. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's absolutely interesting. Well, I think what's most important here is that this event is coming and everybody's so afraid it may not take place.
And it seems like it needs to for both
Is
sides.
there
to
someone
benefit.
who deals directly with the goblins at times when this holiday isn't taking place? Is there a way for us to reach out to them to find out if they're also experiencing sort of horrific finds?
And there might
So-
be information that they have that we need.
So some of the hunters and furriers will interact with the goblins from time to time. But when the goblins come to this festival, they usually work with the mayor or one of the mayor's council. And someone who is fluent in goblin to kind of work with them and all that. They're kind of. I mean, there's bigotry, there's prejudice around the
Of
goblins,
course.
and so they're not necessarily welcome with open arms. But when they bring this apple and they are paid, they spend it at the festival. So they'll get food, they'll have supplies. Well, they kind of keep to themselves and don't necessarily get into the festive aspect of the festival. They eat with the people, they gather supplies, and then head back out in the wilderness.
Perhaps the mayor could give us a contact of someone we could talk to.
Yeah,
Or who
so
can
that's another
interpret.
thing to talk to him about
'Cause
tomorrow.
I don't know about y'all, but I don't speak goblin.
No. Yeah, it's something for us to talk to him about tomorrow, I think, for sure.
All right.
You know.
If
So
I may throw my own 2 cents into this,
Absolutely.
strange unnatural vines in forest, magic apples. Does none of this seem to dribble of druid magic?
Yep, it does. Yep, it does.
seems reasonable.
While my
Druidic or
mind is
even
of course
draconic.
preoccupied with how to turn this apple into possibly a lottery scheme, I I can't help but think maybe the town might benefit from knowing where such a source of problem might come from.
Yep, I
Maybe we
agree.
bring this up to Mayor tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. Alrighty. So I'm going to extend my hand because I've been very remiss and apologize to our waitress. My name is Anubis.
She reaches out. It's a pleasure, dear.
And your
And
name?
nods. Oh,
And your
Caitlin. I am
Caitlin?
Caitlin. Yes. Niece to Garen.
That's kind of what I had put together, is that she's daughter or relative of some kind. He kept his eye on her the whole time she was talking to Aya.
And bear in mind, she's not a young lass. She's
No,
probably
she's older than we are.
yeah, but and Garen is kind of like ancient. Well, not ancient. He's up there.
He's older than again.
Yeah, he's a bit old. I mean, he still gets about, but he's still kind of like you can kind of see that he's kind of lost his edge a little bit, but still a relatively well-regarded individual member of the town.
All right. Well, Caitlin, where is our room?
Oh, she gestures. She actually kind of like points over you up to the room, and there's like one particular door that's kind of offset from the others. That's the common room right there.
Okay. And what time would we expect to break our fast in the morning? How is the kitchen going?
We will have the kitchen going just a little bit before sunup. So she kind of 6 a.m. ish,
Okay.
which you know is only a few hours away now. It's getting
Right.
close
Yeah,
to
it's
midnight
time
for
to
you.
get to
Like,
bed.
yeah. She nods to everyone. And you all have been talking for a while now. She gathers up your bowls. She kind of bows and says, "Thank you all so much."
I'm going to put my hand on her arm to stop her,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to reach in my pocket, and then I'm going to put one piece of silver into her hand, but
All
I'm
right.
gonna cover it so no one else can see what I've given her. Everybody can see that I gave her a tip, but she's the only one who can see what the tip was.
She doesn't look at it, but she kind of squeezes it and thanks you. And
I look at her right in the eye and I say, perhaps things will get better in time for this festival. Letting
I
her
hope
know
so.
that I want to do something about it, so she'll know.
I hope so. Thank you. And then she looks to all of you. Thank you all so much. It would. She kind of like almost like kind of chokes up for a second and almost says, I have hope. Thank you all so much. And then she turns and kind of takes the dishes and mugs back to the kitchen.
Well, it seems we have quite a bit to think on.
Why don't we call it a night?
Yeah. Well, we can also talk up in our room, but yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
time to get a move on
Yeah, time to retire.
and roll the clock forward. The
Yep.
question becomes, as soon as we get up the stairs and into the room, Anubis is going to ask bluntly, do we need to keep watch?
I'm all for keeping watch. I'll take first watch.
I'll take second.
I'll
That's
take
watch.
third. I always take third, so seems to be the watch that nobody wants. So it's always the one that bad shit happens. When I got stuck with a different watch, bad shit happened and I didn't hear that we got woken up. So out of superstition, I'll be on third watch. Because that was the watch when all of the weird shit happened before. Steph, when I was playing your character.
Yeah.
And as a group, you have kind of casually sat with each other. You have traveled for a few days together, so there isn't like a sense of like, well, except for the traveler, there isn't a sense of like I'm gonna get skull drugged by this individual in the
Oh
night
no,
and
I'm
all
not
that.
afraid of that. No, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
so I mean,
afraid of our.
you've all traveled together, and in all honesty, you've all kind of, well, you've just recently stepped into your adventuring career. You have been with others of like mind and all that, so you don't have a sensation that you feel like you can trust each other to a certain extent right now. And as for the town itself, um, there doesn't seem to be that undertone of there's a thieves guild here, you have to kind of watch yourselves, nor is there a sense that the owners are going to roll you at any time. It's probably wise to have a watch, but it doesn't feel like a requirement.
Mm-mm. No, it just sort of makes sure that hinky shit in the end doesn't come into the
Still,
room.
yep.
Well, and
Alrighty.
just because things have been happening out in the woods doesn't mean that they won't move to
Yes,
town.
that's
Or
true.
can't follow
Still,
a group
just to
of
be on the
would-be
safe side,
adventurers.
just to be on the safe side, I am going to post a little mark outside our room
Yep.
door in Thieves' Cant,
All
saying
right.
this room is under the protection of the traveler. You have been
Okay.
warned.
Weird aside,
So-
do you know that I have that on my wall outside of my door?
Really?
I have
So-
Skyrim thieves symbols outside of my door. Yeah.
Oh,
This
awesome.
is a safe place for thieves, but it's also safe from thieving. Yeah. I have a wood burned mark
You-
outside my door.
Yeah, traveler, you do that. You put something out there to that effect, and uh, hopefully no one does anything swirly. But they have
Hey,
been
Like I
warned.
said, you have been warned. That's
Yep.
all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
So
Shoot to kill.
at this point, we are at our halfway point of
Alrighty.
the game. I was going to recommend a quick bio break and
Okay.
beverage break, and then when we come back, it'll be morning. You'll be able all having breakfast and planning your next steps.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks, gang.
No problem. See you in 5.
Yes.
See you all in 5.
Now she's got my brain going. I'm like, Hello.
Hello.
I'm still here.
Did you hear me talking about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I never leave.
No, did you hear me talking about you?
Oh no, huh?
I told John that your take on the goblins sort of counting on human nature to try and cheat might actually be a thing. I'm like, huh.
Well, doesn't it seem like?
Yeah,
I
it's in
mean,
my head now.
It seems like they need the saplings, and so they've rigged this so that. I mean, that's.
Yeah, it could be. No, like I said,
that's
it's got
where
my
my
brain
head
going
goes.
now.
Because it just seems like there's, they need something. This is, I mean, because why would goblins do this out of the goodness of their heart? Because humans can benefit from a magic apple. There's got to be more to it than that. There must be some other reason that they're benefiting. Otherwise,
or
it's
they're
just
just
monetary.
genuinely trying to purchase their importance while their cousins are out doing bad stuff. I don't know.
I know it might just be, how they're keeping goodwill with the humans, so that they can continue to have a pleasant life without being persecuted for being goblins. But I just automatically look for,
Yeah.
there must
What's
be
the
more
hidden
benefit
meaning
than
behind
that.
this?
All right, I am back.
Hello, welcome back. Oh my goodness gracious. So yeah, this 2020 plague is awesome stuff, man. Try to avoid it. I'm thinking about ordering some little Japanese face masks.
Oh,
You know, the little ones that have like the smileys on them and stuff.
Well, at least you'd always look happy.
Right. Well, it's vicious shit, man. Absolutely vicious shit. Oh, I feel like I've been sick for a month.
Oh, don't worry. I've got the sickness too.
Yeah. I love it when non-smokers who have this are like, yeah, but you're a smoker. It's like, well, you're sick and you're not. So
yeah.
don't try to blame this on that.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, folks, but smoking has absolutely nothing to do with it.
No,
You're
it makes
coughing
it
up a
miserable
lung, you're
though, because
coughing up
every
a
time I
fucking
smoke,
lung.
I cough like a bitch.
Okay, I'm back.
Hello.
Welcome
Thanks
back.
thanks for the warning.
Now, Sean, I've got to tell you, we're not
Yeah.
even we're barely halfway through the session, and I've already got my first criminal act planned. I so desperately am planning to set this whole Apple thing up in a lottery where I get a cut.
That's what he said. That's what he said. We were warned.
Bosch is back and right on time apparently. thanks for the insight there, Trevor.
Friends that scheme together stay together until they have to backstab each other.
I told you, rogues have become my bread and butter in D&D. I love playing rogues.
So the evening progresses. It's uneventful throughout the night. I mean, you'll occasionally hear like an animal noise through like the shutters and of the glass window and all that. You can look out onto the street, and except for maybe a couple dogs that come rolling through. There's hardly any noise. In the downstairs common area, you think you hear people kind of shuffling around, but it's mostly the sound of someone throwing a log on the hearth. The watch in evening is uneventful. Morning rolls around, and sun the sky is starting to light up. It feels kind of evident that the morning's come. You hear some banging around in the kitchen area, and it's not too long that you start smelling the breakfast, the fare of the morning kind of cooking on a stove. And it actually is a very pleasant kind of almost pork kind of smell, as well as might be leeks and potato kind of being cooked together
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
killing Anubis. He's like standing
Yeah.
at the door waiting for everybody.
Yeah, the stew of last night wasn't great, but this is actually a very welcoming smell. Now, again, not like going to be the best thing in the world, but
He didn't have to hunt it. He didn't have to skin it.
yes,
And he didn't have to cook it.
Amen.
This smells
this
like
is the
heaven.
best.
Something downstairs happening is making him
Just
insanely
just
hungry.
food. This is just food happening. I didn't have to make food happen. Food just happened.
Exactly.
It is, yeah. This is like the
You
D&D
want a whole
equivalent.
silver for it? Let me give you a silver for it.
So not too long, you all find yourself around a similar table that you did before. Now, again, in the morning, there aren't a lot of patrons. It's just those who might have been staying
No,
here.
they probably made their own at home. Yeah.
Pretty much. There might be a couple individuals who are kind of a little bit more affluent, who might be a local tradesman or something. There's some individuals like that who are here grabbing breakfast in the morning. You have
Did
a
we
weird.
see,
Mhm.
like, did we ever see anything of the one trades guy that we came here with? The caravan, like they left us, but did we ever see anyone from that group?
You did not see Kirkland.
Okay. So we haven't
was
seen
not
them again since.
Nope, you haven't seen Kirkland or the other hunter, and the last you saw of the mother and daughter, they were
We
left
left
with
them at the farm. Yeah.
with the farm with her brother-in-law. So, no, you haven't seen any sign of Kirkland. You were on the impression when you spoke with Kirkland during your travels here that he is an associate of the local blacksmith, but he is not the local blacksmith.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
essentially kind of bringing, exchanging goods,
Mhm.
things along those lines. So maybe it's a franchise, maybe he's a family member, but if anything, he's either staying with his blacksmith cohort here, or he is staying nearby, going to conclude his business and maybe find passage back. You don't know if he's gonna speed that along, because after what happened, he's probably not inclined to go hit the road anytime soon.
Okay. All righty. Well,
Breakfast is brought to you all. It is pleasant fare. Again, a little bit of pork.
kind of
some-
hard to screw up breakfast.
Yeah, potatoes and leeks. Just some kind of nice kind of and bread, of course, if you want it. They do charge extra for cheese if you want any. Just chunk of cheese is a silver piece, but otherwise, they provide you with a good breakfast. And at the conclusion of that, you are all free to do as you please. Well, you're free to do whatever you want to do before, but
Well, as we're all, sitting back and enjoying our second cup of coffee or whatever chicory sort of concoction does thereby substitute for coffee, Anubis is going to say, so should we hit up the mayor first?
I think so.
I think that's
and
good.
no dissension. All right.
So I'm curious, now that this is the second meal we've taken, firstly, has the traveler eaten?
There,
And
you see
secondly,
it-
did he remove his plague mask?
So the traveler actually has a proboscis that comes out the nose of his plague mask.
I know he does. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know, traveler. How do you go about the eating
No,
activity?
as far as anyone has seen, they have not actually seen me eat yet.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Okay.
Sean, why
I'm
do you think
sorry
I
for-
did what I did before?
Yeah, he's eating while nobody's watching.
Yep.
Alrighty.
That's why I snapped a little extra, if you remember.
Yep. Save some for later. Yep. All right. So, you all
All
conclude
sorts of ominous
breakfast.
hints being made.
You conclude breakfast, and you start that. You're actually kind of in the town square area when you kind of step out of the inn, and you are really almost staring down the street. Just a few dozen feet away. You move over, and you can actually see the street that kind of leads to the town. Whatchamacallit? I'm having a word right now. The village hall. And Yeah, you're practically right there. You walk on up to it. Um, it's in the morning. People at this point, people are kind of milling about. It seems like you're kind of regular town. People, it being daylight, are a little less nervous, and people are going about their day. You actually do hear the blacksmith working several blocks over, just that bang, bang, bang sound of someone working at an anvil and forge. Um, Various other tradesfolk are working. There's a carpenter nearby. Uh, Kids and people are milling about. It's your typical kind of a town kind of environment. You all start wandering up to the village hall. Clerks and commoners are kind of milling in and out of the area. Um, you're it's pretty easy to tell the two apart too. The clerks and those officials are dressed finer. I mean, we're not talking like aristocratically fine like you'd see in a big town, but they're dressed well. um, and you all wander up to the actual village hall. The doors are open, all are allowed to enter. There is a single guard posted outside, but as long as you guys aren't like weapons drawn, he doesn't question your gear and equipment. Although he does kind of give you all kind of a knowing nod as you wander up.
Well, I'm sure he's heard we're here by now. We brought a dead guy in a net.
Well, you guys
And a
brought
half
a dead
orc.
guy in a net.
And a half work. So we stand out as a group that's identifiable. Alrighty, so up we go.
Or with the dude with the foot-long metal nose. Of course, we're identifiable.
Yep.
I think that's the mark of how good of a rogue he must be if he can sneak around like that.
Yeah, he stands out and doesn't at all. He's unmemorable with that appearance, which tells you everything you need to know.
We showed the guard our writ and asked him who we should seek out within.
The guard takes a piece of paper and kind of looks at it and just kind of gives like a kind of almost like a light startled look and looks back at you and then looks back at it. Kind of folds it back up, hands it back to you and says, well, if you wait there at that bench, I will let Marvel know that you are here. We hardly get these, so just wait and I will return. And he kind of steps away from his post and all that, though he's not necessarily out of earshot of the area that you're in. He goes down a hallway and you just kind of see him peek around into a doorway, mutter something, and then leave and go back to his post. A minute or two later, who you assume is Marvel, who is just you're kind of average, kind of clerk-looking kind of fella, kind of thinning hair, a little bit kind of rounder than some folks that live here. He kind of wanders up and beckons you all to the room he came out of. Do you join him or do you wait?
Yeah, I'll go in with him.
Okay. He leads you all, right? Or is anyone staying outside?
Nope, I'm going in.
I'm going
Okay.
in.
Yep, nope, going in.
He leads all of you into this room. It's a larger room. It's about about 10 by 15. He has a very small desk, and he gestures for the writ that you have in your hand. He kind of takes a look at it, kind of opens up a logbook. He's doing this wordlessly too. Like he's kind of muttering to himself, but there's nothing unbecoming about it and all that. He's kind of going about business. And he opens up a logbook and pages to a certain page, kind of looks up a name and kind of sighs and is like, and then writes in that logbook a few, comments and all that. It's almost even becoming uncomfortably quiet as he's kind of scribbling into this book. Then he rips up the piece of paper, throws it away, and then starts digging around for a coffer. And then a few minutes later, he kind of, or a few seconds later, he has his coffer on his desk. He kind of looks at all of you, just kind of like, yeah, you're okay. No one's going to do anything squirrely here. And then he opens up the coffer and starts counting out some coins. You are each given, if the split is even, 10 gold pieces worth of gold and silver.
Okay.
He promptly puts the coffer back under his desk, and then, like the first time he said anything to you all, he says, "Thank you all very much for your work here. Word has gotten around of your deeds, and we appreciate what you've done for our town. If you should ever want to continue this work, please clear this and arrange this ahead of time with the constable. Until then, thank you so much." And he gestures. He walks past you all, opens the door, and gestures for you to step out.
So should we each add 10 gold, or do we need to put a certain amount of silver in?
You can each add a mix of silver or gold to your character sheet. Kaya, did you want me to add that to your character sheet for you?
I did get my character sheet to open.
Okay.
I put 10. I just put 10 gold in my sheet, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right, cool.
So, I'll wait for. I'm waiting to see if everyone is leaving. Does everyone?
No, because we
leave?
need to speak to the mayor. So,
Okay. Sir, before we go, I was told to inquire here about work specifically to deal with the ongoing mystery in your woods.
He slacks a little bit when you say that, and he had opened up the door, but he kind of steps away from it and is kind of walking back to his desk. I mean, yes, we can use help. I would really coordinate that with the constable. I do not have the power to deputize you, nor does the mayor have. Oh, and then he kind of stops. Oh, you're wanting payment.
no, I didn't say that.
kind
And
of
in
like
fact,
puts
Anubis says that out loud. I didn't say that.
I'm not looking
We've
for
been
payment.
told that something is happening that is terrifying the townspeople. We've just come into town and had our own experience on the roads and are curious to find out what, if anything, you're doing about it, and who do we need to speak to about volunteering our services, whether for pay or just for experience.
Because it's the decent thing to do, sir.
Well, I'm not going to cut out the fact that I have party members that want money.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just specifically looking for.
Yeah.
He raises an eyebrow as he sits down to what you all said, and he says, "Well, of course, providing for the common good is a welcome thing."
It's time for Rob, or Vash to speak up, but
Okay.
If you are asking how to coordinate your efforts with the town, I mean, we are already doing so. Our guards and constables are keeping a wary eye out. We have some individuals who are checking in with the townsfolk, farmers who are on the outskirts to make sure from day to day that that no one has been hurt or has gone missing.
And yet the parties that you have apparently sent out to discover what the problem is have, as I understand it, not reported in. What are you doing to investigate the root of the problem?
Did Carowin send you?
no.
Who?
Tell Carowin that
Who's Carowin?
Yeah, I said no. Carowin
Hukrell, the owner of the general store. I am dreadfully sorry at the loss of her children, but unfortunately we did what we could to find them. They have been gone for months.
Wait,
These
there's
things
children
happen.
missing? I didn't hear anything about children missing last night. And I don't know who this Carowin is that you're talking about.
All right. I presume, my apologies.
Thank you.
There was a group of adventurers who were led by that paladin of Taylor several months back, who went to go out and investigate these matters, and they never returned. Among that party were two of Carowin's children, Talgan and Sherwin, as well as one of our rangers by the name of Caracas. None of them returned. It is assumed they were lost. Their bodies were never found, but honestly, when these types go out, they sometimes don't return. And then he looks at all of you and then kind of tries to, like he's trying to find the words, which I imagine you are inclined to do so as well. Let me just say this. Please be very careful. We do not want to be and he's about to say responsible, but he backpedals a little bit and says, we don't want any more folks such as yourselves being lost out in the wilderness.
And I'm going to visibly bristle. I'm an orc. I can bristle.
He sees that and he says, I'm not saying that you're not capable, but also we are not sponsoring a expedition into the wilderness. We are not assuming the responsibility for that.
I wasn't asking you
may
to sponsor
speak
or take responsibility for me, sir. I was asking what the trouble was and what you had done about it, which is apparently nothing. So I will seek out your constable and ask her for some pertinent information, since you are not exactly forthcoming.
Oh boy.
I'm going to try and do some greasing of the wheels here.
I'm sorry. I'm simply an accountant. Please, if you want to speak to our mayor.
Right, yeah, we need to speak to the mayor.
And again, he
Not
gets.
who I need to speak to, and if you're not going to be forthcoming with something useful, you are of no use to me, sir.
Whoa.
He then
Definitely,
nods.
you can hear the implied "good day, sir" in my voice.
With that, he stands up again and opens up the door and gestures you for all of you to leave.
I'm going
Poor
to.
Vosh.
I'm leaving.
Anubis just takes one look at him like, did you know this was coming?
And on my way out, I'm
learning
saying,
a lot.
I'm going to just very quietly say, pleasure to meet you, and just walk out. Because
Yeah, same. Anubis
Yeah.
is like,
He nods to everybody and then doesn't slam the door, but it's audible, the click behind you all as you're standing back out in the hallway.
as we're back
into that
out
area.
in the hallway.
As you stand
Anubis
back
is
out in the
just gonna-
hallway,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there's
I
no
was going to
standing in
say,
the hallway.
the
I'm already
guard
gone.
the guard who was standing out by the entrance and all that is just kind of looking at all of you incredulously, having heard that out in the hallway. Another clerk is just kind of looking down there as well, as like, what just happened?
Yeah, Anubis is going to turn to Kaya and just
Kaya's
be
already
like,
gone. Kaya's gone. Kaya's already halfway to the constables.
oh, see, and I'm looking for the mayor. So I'm
And that's
still in
fine.
this
You
building.
can look for the mayor. Kaya is going to the constable.
Okay.
Kaya has no faith in the mayor at this point if he hires such complete
Yeah, the
assholes.
magic words were children. And now
Okay.
she's like, that's it, I'm gone.
Yeah, I'm
Now-
going to the constable.
it's-
You guys do what you want. I'm going to the constable now. Because remember, I didn't see the constable last night. So I
No, no,
have
that's
no
fine.
idea that she's, I have no idea of anything about her. But I already trust her more than I trust the mayor.
It was implied that the adventuring group that left, I mean, it was children, but they were adults.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yep.
But Kaya didn't catch that, and that's fine.
Yeah. No, and remember, nobody said anything to her about, them being locals. She
Yeah,
doesn't
she
know that
didn't
it was a
know,
local adventuring party. She just knows that people had not been hurt, but now people have been hurt. And so,
Well, they have gone missing.
Right.
But it sounds like at least the accountant and probably a lot of the folks in the mayor's,
Are
the
sort of
village
holding
hall
the adventurers
are
accountable
assuming
for
that they're
yeah,
well,
and
assuming that they're dead or lost.
well, and the whole entire, there's shit happening in our town, but we're not going to take responsibility for it. Rubs her the wrong way, because where she comes from, the people in charge of shit take care of shit.
Yeah,
Because that is
she's
what they
used
see their
to.
duty as. And this mayor, or at least the people he hires, if they're not taking care of their own, they're not taking care of anything. And she is not impressed. And so she's going to go find the constable and say, what's the deal? What's the information I need to know? What direction do I need to aim in? And so that's what she's doing.
And so what Anubis wants is he's going to say just generally to the party, didn't see that coming. And then I'm going to ask the guard right in front of me, may we please speak to the mayor?
I'm sorry, I didn't split up the team.
You're fine.
Yep. Kaya, this does give you an opportunity to unload on the mayor. Do you want to pass this up?
I'm not in the room.
Yeah, she left.
Okay.
I
Just
left.
kind of get a storm out.
I am
Okay.
not
We
there.
may find out that she's exactly the flavor that the magistrate likes, though.
Or
She's
we may
about to
find
go
her
in
the
there.
stocks tomorrow morning.
No, I have a feeling she's going to go in there and bowl this lady over with, people from your town are missing and nobody's doing anything. Point me in the direction. And the lady's going to be like, holy crap.
I'm mad at. I'm not angry with the constable. Right now my opinion is that the constable is the only one with her head on straight, as far as I know. And so, I'm going to go in there and be nice.
So now we'll find out if this guy's as worthless as her initial feeling is. And you guys don't have to stay with me. You guys know Kaya just left, so.
I would say Vosh's impression is a little different because the guy that we're dealing with is a functionary. He's not a decision maker.
Yeah.
He's clearly the person who just holds the coin. So he just saw one of his party members verbally abuse someone who doesn't have any kind of policy making.
She's not a party member. I would like to
she's
point
just
out
somebody that's been with us.
that,
Okay.
we hung out together last night because it was convenient, but she does not consider herself a party member.
That's good
And, Kaya's friendly, but Kaya is not in your party until it is a formal arrangement, which is not yet.
Yeah, we haven't done that
So
yet. We haven't picked
she
the
does
thing
not
to do.
consider herself responsible for you, and she does not consider you responsible for her.
Well, that's
She
fine.
is her own
But I
agent.
think that if you are in a position where you have power, verbally abusing someone who doesn't have power is a sign of weakness. So that's something
Kaya
that
doesn't give a fuck.
that's fine.
And Kaya doesn't see that as verbally abusing. Kaya feels that she was attacked. Kaya feels that assuming she's looking for a payment arrangement and his obsequious attitude was such that she feels like she needs a shower after talking to this prick. So you can see that as abusive if you want to, but that is not how Kaya sees it. And so Kaya is no longer in the room because Kaya thinks that guy's a dick. And she assumes that he gets that attitude from his employer. So she's not interested in talking to the mayor. That is why she's no longer with you.
Heck, for all we know, he gets that attitude from his mother. But
that could be.
Yeah, well, and that we're about to find out because we're going to go ask the mayor.
Carry on.
So can we have an audience with the mayor? Because that's going to be the other question.
The guard says, well, he kind of like makes like a face like, I don't know. And then kind of like gestures for you to go talk to one of the other administrative persons who are kind of who has a desk in this common area, and just kind of gestures in that general direction, shrugs his shoulders. That individual, a woman who is also a clerk, who is sitting at a desk, essentially is kind of like a desk sergeant / will answer all your questions and all that. She gestures you all over and asks, well, why do you want to speak to the mayor?
Honestly, I wanted to get some direction because we volunteered our services and I feel like that didn't go so well. And so I would like to speak to the mayor.
All right. I will let him know that you would like to speak with him. I'm assuming you're the group that arrived late last night. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. We do appreciate what she did for Kirkland and other members of the town. But please understand that these are trying times, and unlike what your friend believes, he is busy. We are all very busy trying to see to the health of the city and to the town. If you'll excuse me, I shall return shortly. She stands up and kind of whisks her way down the same hallway, but further along that you just went down, disappears around the corner, and is gone for several minutes. What's this tune for? Okay. A few minutes later, she returns. Behind her is a gentleman with kind of a grayish curly beard and kind of salt and pepper curly hair. You're kind of surprised because this is a fairly well, kind of up there in age, a fairly fit, fairly strong looking individual, like almost like you could expect him to be a captain of the guard, not a mayor. He wanders up, he strides up to you, and who is at the front of the group?
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
Earlier, I rolled a perception check on
Ooh,
the
yeah.
I'm just trying to get back to it to see what I rolled on just the accountant in general. I rolled a 16. I'm gonna do it again on the mayor.
Are you looking
I'm
for
just
something on them, or are you trying to get an idea of what they're about? Because it would be an insight check.
Insight? Okay, then I'll roll insight.
Okay.
Mostly I'm trying to figure out whether, because I just typed 2 things in the thing. He was surprised to be giving us money and that amount of money. So they're not paying for things right now.
Yeah.
It's certainly not things like what we did. So there's that. But what I'm trying to determine is, do I feel like, I don't want to say culpable because that doesn't, that's something much deeper. What I'm looking for is kind of, do I feel like they really think that adventurers are idiots and that that's a town sort of feeling? Or is there something deeper here? Like, are we really looking at this benefits them? You know, so insight is better than perception?
Yeah, go ahead make an insight check. You definitely, you all kind of cued into, great insight check. So you all kind of cued into that the accountant that you just spoke with was kind of surprised at the amount of the writ, but also maybe the fact he got a writ like this at all.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, well, I've never seen that before. And the other thing is the book he pulled out was not a ledger. If anything, it was a book of a bunch of names with some writing next to them and all that. So either the brigand had been a former town member, or possibly that had been I forget what the books are called, but essentially listing all the members of a service and essentially kind of like this is how they died and all that. There might have been something along those lines. Now, there might be heraldry for knights and all that. That's kind of similar, but this would have been a more functionary kind of these were soldiers, this is how they died, and so on and so forth. You know, just kind of notation.
So it was bookkeeping, but not necessarily money.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So that second book was definitely about writing down the name of someone who had died, and so on. And then the exchange of money, he was kind of surprised that there was any bounty offered at all. So you might build into it that maybe this was a favor from the constable to have this paid out given the circumstances and what you guys did.
Right.
Now, your insight check that you just got on this individual, and you're kind of you have a weird feeling that he was also a serviceman at some point. Maybe a high-ranking individual in the forces in the last war, and generally the last war was a kind of civil matter, not necessarily civil like Civil War, but it was between 2 local regions, and it was pretty
kingdoms or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. It's one of those kind of like a civil war. There's kind of a black eye. There's kind of like we don't want to talk about that, and so a lot of individuals who served in that were kind of left without means afterwards, And so this is kind of like the Vietnam War. They're just kind of like those who served in it were just kind of left without means afterwards and kind of had to find their way. So it's not a very popular. There's no happy songs being sung about it. That being said, the individual approaching you, he seems kind of capable. He seems very vested. He has a air of kind of authority about him, and he seems kind of genuine. And he's walking up to you, and as you're the one who's kind of like watching him and trying to get all this. He's the one who walks up to you and holds out his hand towards you, Nibson, and says, "Mayor Werner Lung."
All right, I'll extend my hand.
He gives you
So
a very,
Vosh,
very
go
gives
ahead.
you a firm shake.
How do I place him in age to me? He's my dad's age. He may be even a little older than my dad.
He's a little bit older than your dad. I
Okay.
mean,
Sean,
he's up there in age, but he's still quite fit. Yes, Bosch.
could I cast guidance for Ruth?
Oh, no, you're going to do the talking. I was just going to turn to you.
You could cast guidance, although if you want to hide the fact that you're casting a spell, you would have to make a stealth check. People could assist you if they know you're going to do this by kind of being distracting, and that would give you advantage.
Right here, I'm going to step in.
Okay.
I'm going to, as soon as he's done shaking Anubis's hand, I'm going to step forward myself, extend my hand. I'm not even going to wait for him to take it. I'm just going to reach out, grab his hand, and shake it with both hands with this whole, with a whole spiel. Mayor Lung, obviously a man of action such as yourself, who cares and dearly prides himself on his people and his town, surely would want to hear what we have to say in order to protect said people. Shall we step into your office and maybe discuss things? We believe we have information that may lead to helping you save this town.
He is taken aback by this, and could you as a group make a charisma check? And Traveler, make a charisma check with advantage.
Actually, I was hoping to use persuasion instead of...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you can use persuasion. You use persuasion, everyone else make charisma. So you can use advantage on persuasion. Nice. Nice! What the hell? What the fuck
We're
is
not fighting yet. This is going to be hell the first time somebody fires at us. That's what this is. This is we're about to die. We're going to roll natural 1 crit on ourselves.
Oh no, you said it. You said it. Now it's gonna happen.
Oh my god.
Well, you didn't know about it, but my mage managed to try and burn up the paladin or the warrior in the last campaign. All right.
So he is
More than once.
He is kind of taken aback by this, but you get this weird sense that like this is kind of like a welcome thing for him. Finally, some serious heroes who might actually be here, and more importantly, you think he kind of likes the cut of your jibs, your collective jibs, as it were. Like he sees this nice individual with a shield and armor. There's this nice paladin right here. There's these two very, clear speakers. Although the beak, we'll probably need to talk about the beak later. But yeah, he's like, of course, this way, please. And he gestures, but then starts walking towards.
And this was also meant to be a distraction as well, in case you wanted to
yeah,
cast
and Vosh,
guidance.
you can actually cast guidance, and you don't have to make a stealth check. You can actually do that.
All right, thank you.
Are you casting on yourself or another party member?
Who's gonna be this?
Who's gonna be the face?
Who's gonna be the face? Is it gonna be you, Traveler?
Sure, I'll take the
He's-
helm on this.
He's
one.
already up there. Yeah, he's already up there.
I'll cast it on the Traveler.
All right, you cast down the
Okay.
traveler. You're led into his office, and you're kind of struck with how squalor is not the word, but how very plain this office is.
Spartan?
It's a desk. It's Spartan. Great word. Actually, excellent. His office is very Spartan, and it's just some very basic, like a desk, a desk of drawers, and that's pretty much it. There's no art. There's no nothing. There were at least a little bit those kind of appointments in the accountant's office. Not so here. And he stands. Mostly, you think because there's no room for everyone to sit, so he's actually standing along with all of you. And he turns around. He's standing next to his desk and kind of looks back at you, kind of to let you kind of complete your thought. And takes a moment, and when there's kind of a pause, he kind of gestures back towards you, traveler, to continue.
I'm sure you are wondering who we are. You maybe not are too familiar with us. We are
Well,
new.
I've heard of what you did for Kirkland, and we are all thankful that you were there to help Kirkland and those that traveled with him from that attack. So, and he says as he puts his hand on his chest and bows, "Thank you all so much for what you did."
Oh, such formalities are not needed. We did what needed to be done. Of course, what we are suggesting here is something a bit more personal for you than for us. We seek more experience and glory than any kind of compensation.
His
But
eyes narrow a little bit as he starts saying that, but he doesn't say anything. He just kind of lets you continue.
but my compatriots and I discussed yesterday. The patterns we're noticing are leaning towards, well, things are not natural. And when things are not natural, that says to me magic. And when magic and forest are involved, well, I begin to think druid. Do you know of any particular possible
Anubis is
circles of
nodding.
any particular circles of druids or unnatural covens lurking about, or where they might be?
There is one group of druids. However, they are closely affiliated with the shrine in town, with the clergy who tend to the shrine and the religious needs of the people. They may have some detail as to this, but I am not aware of any druid circles or sects operating outside of town.
Do you know where exactly the previous group had traveled to, or what direction they were heading?
Group? Are you speaking of Bradford's group?
Yes.
Anubis kind of nods.
Yes.
I believe that's what the name was. Yes.
They had headed towards the Sunless Citadel, across the Ashen Plain, about 3 days to the southwest from here.
Now, of course, my next question will require a bit of discretion from you on your part. I hope you understand.
Of course.
Do you know of anyone in town who might know where to find perhaps rogue aspects of the druidic community?
If you were asking about someone to help you identify any druidic circles outside, the best guess would be the shrine. Maybe those druids who operate at the shrine would know more. I do not know of any druidic circles operating outside of here. There are probably naturally some druids among the goblin tribes, but nothing established that I'm aware of. Why are you suggesting that this is the work of a druid?
It is when I first heard of this magic apple that you receive.
He kind of gets a quizzical look on his face. So you speak of the apple that is brought during the midwinter and midsummer festivals.
I am not saying it has anything to do with this particular problem, but it does seem to be tied to other problems your town seems to have, and problems we've noticed outside the city as well on our journeys.
How he's actually getting kind of, you see, you've piqued his curiosity. Why do you believe that the apple, the goblins, and the events outside of that are besetting our community are related?
Well, this, of course, is one reason why we want permission to seek these answers out.
Are you, and he kind of looks at all of you, are you asking to have an expedition sponsored, like Bradford asked for?
If you are offering for sponsorship, we will take it. Now, can I roll a persuasion check on that?
Sure. Is your goal to get some sponsorship?
I'm trying, yeah, to see if we can get sponsorship without actually asking for sponsorship.
Go ahead and roll it. Oh, fucking
Well, there we go.
I'm
right.
telling you. Oh my God.
All right. So
I mean, I could roll
So
my
he-
charisma again to help, but I don't think we need
So-
to.
so Lang turns around, his arms kind of fold, kind of behind his back, kind of laced together, kind of like you'd expect like a general to stand. He turns around and kind of looks out a window, facing away from all of you, and he kind of goes into a little soliloquy along the lines of, Bradford approached me several months ago asking for the same thing. And at the time, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Mhm.
People were disappearing, livestock was being killed, all these strange things. People were clamoring for us to act. And
What's changed?
nothing has changed. But now, people that we cared about in this town have gone missing. They're dead, likely.
Well,
And
this is part
at
of the
loss-
beauty of the situation. We are not part of this town. We will not be missed. We will not be a loss. You can just write us off if anything goes wrong. Bub's your uncle. We're gone. No one missed. No hard feelings.
He turns around and kind of gestures. Well, regardless whether you're part of a community or not, we do care about your welfare. But you're right. I think, and you think he's kind of rationalizing that this.
Yeah, he's
"Ooh,
out loud. He's
Yeah,
talking
this is like-
himself into it.
Yeah, he's kind of rationalizing like, yeah, they're not part of our community. They're just random adventurers. We could set them out. They have a ranger. They'll be safe in the woods. So he's nodding as he's saying this, but the time has come for us to act again. And while the cost was high before, we can't just simply hide behind our doors at night and hope that this matter is addressed. And he turns around and gestures to you all again, and you are quite capable, as evident as what transpired on the road here. He then turns around, walks to his desk, puts both hands kind of like on his desk, kind of just fingers out, and just kind of says, any sponsorship I can offer will be meager, sadly, but you will have our blessing and you will have our support. However, know this, that the individuals who disappeared were like family. And more importantly, were members of an important family in this town, the Hercrele. And you will need to get supplies from Carowin. Do not speak to her and do not approach her quite yet. I will need to speak to her in private. And he kind of pauses for a moment. I am going to suggest that your expedition is to go and find the remains of her lost children.
Oh boy.
This is something that she has been asking for some time. I could never spare the manpower or or risk any of our people in this matter, but as you said, you are available and you are willing and you are here. This seems to meet an existing need that we have, and I am sure Carolyn would help sponsor this under the auspices that you are to go and find her children. And then he kind of looks at all of you and essentially kind of asks you in a roundabout way, are you all in agreement with this?
I just turned directly to the lawful good friend in our group. Rob?
He's planning on cutting off another head for gold. He's fine.
Zariel, I'm going to turn to Vosh.
Yes?
You're okay with this? I'm just looking at you.
Let me...
I was planning on asking her questions.
Yeah.
And naturally, if you encounter what befell them, with luck and at your discretion, you might be able to deal with it.
And with discretion.
You just kind of see.
As long as the other 3 people in the room seem okay with it. I didn't think the rogue was going to twitch over the lie. I'm just looking at lawful good over there.
I actually don't know that my guy would think it's a lie. Like, we might have our own primary motivation.
Yeah, but yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a lie. It really wasn't.
It's not, yeah, because
I'm aware of that, and I'm not lawful good. That's why I keep looking over.
You just kind of see the
because he could just walk in
it.
there and blurt out to her that we're going out there because they failed. You know what I mean?
You just kind of see the beak turn towards you, Anubis, and just kind of go up and down.
Yep.
It is not a stretch for these 2 concerns to align. What probably happened to that last group is probably the same threat that's facing the town. If you can find their bodies, you're going to probably garner, for at least the mayor, support from one of the major noble families in the town, as well as
like I said, for Anubis, it is purely, if this is our story, then we leave this room with this as our story, and nobody says anything any different when we get to this lady's shop.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
He's just turning and looking, because I think all 3 of us are okay. It's whether Zariel's going to be all right with the fact that we're
Zariel, are you with us? Or?
A portion of the story.
Do you agree to go along with the story, Rob?
Are you down with this?
Is a lie of omission okay?
What is that?
A lie of omission being we are going to try and find out what the hell's going on. The story being told to the mother of the lost adventurers is we're going to go and recoup her children's bodies.
Okay.
So he's okay with it.
I may be like very wanting for bounties and stuff, but I still got a heart. I'm not that much of an asshole.
I'm more concerned with your alignment. So we're okay. It's a lie of omission, not a lie.
I'm still the nice guy.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Cool.
Then out we go. Because we have to go catch our friend and find out what she found out. So I guess Stephanie's up now.
So at this point, he says, when he gets agreement from everybody, he says, wonderful. I'm going to draw up a very quick charter. And I am going to personally go speak with Carowin about this matter. Okay. I ask that you do not go to her general store for now. Don't patronize it until I've had a chance to speak with her, at which point either someone from my office or someone from her store will reach out to you, because naturally he kind of looks you up all done. You're going to need supplies for this.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, please avail yourselves of the town. And he actually kind of, you may want to speak with the blacksmith if you need weapons or armor repaired. And he kind of gives you a general direction where to find it. And if you have any further questions or anything else, please route it through my assistant. You met her, and we will be in touch. Thank you all so much.
All right. Off to go and see the constable or slash magistrate.
Okay. All right. So, Kaya, you have pretty much kind of reached the gate of the which is open, by the way, the gate of the constatory kind of the jail area. There's a guard standing out by that gate who kind of sees you walking up, and when you kind of get within kind of earshot, he says, "Can I help you?"
Oh, I certainly hope so. Last night I was told that I should see the constable if I were looking for work. The kind folks down at the Boar's Head, the head of the Boar,
Boar's Head,
nice establishment, told me that if I were looking for work of any kind, that this is where I should come because they didn't have any work for me, which is fine. So I guess I need to speak with whoever's in charge.
We're kind of full up, but come on.
Well, I'm not looking to become a member of your force. I am actually looking to find some information on the troubles that have been befalling your townsfolk in the woods. I was on my way here yesterday and ran into some goblins in the woods, and I hear that you have apparently some friends, friendly neighborhood goblin folk that were not the ones that I ran into in the woods and had to dispatch with prejudice. So is there someone who can tell me what's going on? Because I'd like to look into the mystery in the woods, apparently.
He kind of looks you up and down, and then
and I've already been to the mayor's office and couldn't get in to see the mayor because, well, frankly, the clerk there was something of an asshole.
He kind of smirks a little bit at that. All right, come on in.
Thanks.
So he kind of opens up the gate. There's a couple more guards that are standing kind of in the grounds area on the other side of that gate. They kind of look at him, and he yells to one of those two guards, "Hey, could you introduce Felicil to this to
Kaya.
any kind of Kaya?"
My name's Kaya.
The one guard he's asking for help for kind of raises an eyebrow, but gestures for you to come on over, and then takes you around side of the barracks area to what looks like an archery range. And standing there is a woman, a half elf, who is currently and quietly and with a strange air of frustration sending a bunch of arrows downrange into a target with frighteningly good accuracy. And the gentleman who left you here, the guard who led you here, says, "Sir, this individual would like to speak with you." And there's a kind of a pregnant pause. There's a moment there where nothing's exchanged, and then the guy just kind of like, if you'll excuse me, and he just kind of wanders off. And quiet, as you are standing there, she is letting a couple of arrows fly.
I'm just going to admire her aim.
You have a feeling that she's been doing this a while. So about 5 of these are sent downrange at which point she says, "How can I help you?"
I arrived yesterday with a caravan, and we were beset on the road by a group of goblins. I dispatched the goblins. No one seemed to mind. But when I came to town, I discovered that there are friendly goblins in the neighborhood. I was a little surprised at that. But where I come from, we don't have a lot of diversity, sadly.
Okay. Actually, could you hold on for a second? Just heard something crash downstairs.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Hopefully it's the cat and not Shannon.
Okay, sorry about that. Everything's fine.
Everything's okay? Shannon
Yep,
didn't break herself?
everything's fine. Yep, nope.
Okay. So basically, I explained, coming here, fighting, there's things in the woods. So I had been told last night to see you if I was looking for work. I'm not looking to join your force. I don't think that would be a good idea. I am, however, looking to discover what is going on in the woods, and if I can do something about it, I'd like to help out in that regard. I did go to the mayor earlier, but I didn't actually see the mayor because his obsequious little clerk was an obsequious little dick. And so I removed myself from that situation before, fists were flying. And I have presented myself to you as I had originally intended last night before I got distracted.
The half elf turns around and she kind of steps into her bow and kind of leans into it a little bit and is kind of listening to you. She's kind of like watching you as you speak, and finally when you pause and she kind of digests all of it, she says, "Well, I heard about you.
You heard about me?
Yeah, it's a small town. Word travels."
Oh, I did become friendly with one of the waitresses.
Yes, we heard about all of you, the group that you traveled with, and the goblins that your group dispatched.
Yes, I was not alone on the caravan, although I don't actually know. I mean, I've met those people, and we did spend the evening guarding one another's backs. And they seem to be good people, although I only met them on the road, obviously.
She pauses and she says, "Well, regardless, thank you, but I don't know how you could be of help, at least by yourself. Now, I'm happy to tell you all that's going on that we know of, but
information is the most important thing I'm looking for right now. Thank you. That would be very, very helpful. I'm not looking to get paid, and I'm not looking to hire on your staff, and I am not looking to cheat you in any way. I am simply looking for information, all that I can get, and I am looking to leave this world better than I found it, if possible."
She's kind of taking all this in, and then she takes some time and says, "Well, come with me, and I'll give you a little bit of a lowdown on what's going on." And then as you and she's kind of leading you back into the barracks and all that. She tosses her bow to one of the other guards and kind of steps in. To the very left of the door you enter, I'm sorry, the very right of the door you enter is a small office where she has a desk. She gestures for you to sit, and she sits in that desk, and then kind of essentially gives you pretty much the same amount of information that you heard at the inn.
Okay.
She doesn't have any other details to impart above what the barmaid Caitlin was able to kind of share with you, but she starts kind of questioning you about, well, what's your motivation here? Why are you, things along those lines. Just kind of trying to understand how or what you intend to help out with.
I don't know if you heard the full story of everything that happened on the road, but there was a very nice.
Well, please tell me. And she actually asks you to kind of recount what happened on the road.
Okay, so I'll tell her the stuff that I did. Traveling. I'm out looking for experiences in life. I have left my homeland because it wasn't really mine anyway. I'm an orphan. Blah blah blah. Leaving out the casino part.
Okay.
And we're on the road, and the goblins attack, and they kill a horse. It was kind of horrible. And there was a widow woman and her young child, her little daughter, in the caravan, and I felt the need to protect them because widows and children should always be protected. And I did that, and I dispatched the goblins in order for the mother and child to be unharmed.
And she asks you about the individual, the man that was leading them, who actually killed him.
I did see that there was a human in cahoots with the goblins, but I was not I was not within eyesight of that event occurring, because Kaya has no idea which one of the she doesn't know.
They all look the same to me.
Yeah, it's humans.
Well,
she was murdering the
humans
crap
all
out
look
of.
very similar, although much easier to tell the male gender from the female gender most of the time in the humans. Unless we're having one of those shows at the unless there's a show deliberately misconstruing those things. I've seen those shows. They used to have interesting shows at the casino, but she's trying to keep the casino thing quiet.
Yeah.
The casino thing seems to disconcert people, and so she's learning to maybe not talk about the casino quite as much, although it is her, very favorite thing about her past. It's her casino experience.
So you were kind of in a rage
so totally
too, so you don't quite remember.
Educate Anubis about everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm half orc, and when I'm fighting, sometimes I'm not really aware of my environment. So not only was I not in the same vicinity as the human that was in cahoots with the goblins, but I might not remember really clearly, even if I had been seeing him. I just know that I had no truck with him, and he was dispatched before I finished with the goblins. So yeah. I'm sorry I don't have, and she's sincerely sorry, conveying to this woman that she has no idea what the fuck happened, that she was, basically hindered by having her brain overtaken by rage. So I'm sorry I can't give you any details on that. But I believe he was returned to the city, and I ran into the people that I traveled with last night, and apparently that's how we ended up at the mayor's office, because we all got paid for returning a bounty, I guess. I'm not familiar with the bounty thing.
She asks, well, how much was the bounty?
I received this many silver. And I actually take it because I just put it in my pocket. I didn't put it in. Mm-hmm. I haven't.
She nods at this.
I haven't taken the 6% out to put into the other bag yet.
Something strikes you at this very moment, and it's kind of like a little bit of your background in the casino and all that. Sometimes when the fuzz shows up, they start asking some very kind of roundabout questions. And you have a weird feeling that you've been led down a roundabout kind of question dialogue with the Popo.
I'm assuming that she's trying to figure out who killed that guy.
Yes.
Because she has reasons of her own to want to know. And I have no reason to not tell her. I had nothing to do with his death, and therefore I have no reason to not tell her exactly what I know, which is absolutely nothing. Because I had kind of guessed that to start with. She was doing a gentle interrogation.
Yes, and that's what your feeling is. She lets you talk, but she kind of asks some probing questions, and she kind of asks you what you saw, and so on and so forth. It's like she's trying to get a more another point of view about what went down, and like asking how much it was. You're pretty sure she's the one that made that writ. And so she's just kind of making sure that, okay, how much money did you get as a cut of this, and so on and so forth. So it's Oh,
I will make it clear that the money was split up by the clerk, not by the other members. That we were all given this much. Mm-hmm. The clerk split up the. I might not like the clerk very much, but I will say that he is honest in his monetary dealings. At least with us. Maybe because people were watching. It's hard to say.
after that, and after a few more kind of conversations, things kind of lighten up a little bit. You see her kind of shift out of interrogation kind of mode and just kind of back into the reason you showed up, which was, trying to help out. She has kind of told you some of the things, and she weaved that into the conversation you were having about what you saw in the woods, and like, oh yeah, we've had goblins and this and other strange happenings and da 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 da. Again, you don't get any new details other than what you've already heard up to this point. And then she kind of turns the discussion to, well, I can see that you very eagerly want to help. And I appreciate you being here and what you can offer. Really, and sadly, I don't have any room right now or funding to take on another deputy or another constable. However, I do have some arrangements with some of the locals about providing a guard or providing protection at night when, for example, folks are working, or if farmers are having to move goods or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are amenable to such a thing, I can reach out to you while you are in town to help out in those matters, which it seems like you're eager to do.
That's very intriguing, and might perhaps be the solution to my dilemma, which is
because honestly,
not knowing anyone in town except for the nice widow woman that I met on the way, and her brother. She's staying with her brother, and do I know the brother's name?
I think we did get the name, but I didn't write it down. So,
yeah, that's not important. But yeah, you know the brother's name.
So
the Nicholson's out at the edge of town.
Yep.
I'll say, so and so's farm, blah blah blah. Ideally, I would, of course, really prefer to make sure that they are safe, but I get the impression that things are not as prosperous as they once were in the neighborhood, and would not want to overtax their resources by volunteering to help them when they haven't the means to procure services, shall we say.
Well, if you are volunteering your services as a guard or someone to protect others, by all means, you're very welcome in the town. You are obviously quite capable. And there's definitely some need for that and during these trying times. And I can also try and make sure that you're compensated as fairly as people of these meager means can. So I and there's a kind of a genuineness to this. Like, she really does appreciate you. Like, she has cued into you. You are just a very helpful, caring kind of person and all that. And you have a feeling that she's not trying to exploit that either. But then she kind of says, but beyond that, I don't feel comfortable like sending you out into the wilderness, and I would never ask that of anybody. And likewise, and let me say this, please do not allow others in town to take advantage of your good nature and ask you to do such a thing. We've already lost some people that are kind of dear to the community, who were kind of sent out on such a kind of a hero's errand and never returned.
I heard that someone lost their children, but it was told to me that no people have been stolen from the town, so I inferred that apparently some people went out looking to solve the problem.
No one has been stolen from the town. Mostly it's people who were out on the outskirts of town who disappeared.
Oh, like my friends in the farm. That's disturbing.
Yes. Those who have disappeared have been kind of on the periphery or have been traveling the roads. But we haven't had people abducted. And frankly, we haven't had bodies either, although in the few months that have passed, we assume that they're gone.
That is probably a sadly accurate assumption to make. And I thank you for your concern, but I'm definitely not the type anyone takes advantage of.
Good.
At least not more than once. So I do appreciate your offer of assistance, and I assure you I wouldn't go to the woods alone, but
So-
I certainly would, you know, um, what is the word I'm looking
Possessed
for?
parrot?
About this time, the rest of the party is also approaching the gate. That same guard you saw the night before is standing there and sees you all coming up and kind of greets you as you approach.
Hi there. We wanted to go ahead and see if we could meet with your boss one more time on our way out of town.
Well, why?
We've just been given a job, and we feel like your boss might actually have some good information for us.
Oh. Okay. You just catching up with your friend then?
Oh, did she come here? Then yeah, I guess we're just catching up with our friend.
He makes a strange face at this, like.
Yeah, that's exactly how he said it. Yeah. Oh, she came here. Sure, then that's what we're doing.
Uh-huh. All right. He opens up the gate and gestures you to follow. Kaya, you're also so towards the end of this conversation, you're actually hearing the sound of a group approaching, and you're kind of at this point getting kind of familiar with the sound of like someone's in plate and all that. They're kind of talking back and forth. You hear some familiar voices as well.
So as I'm wrapping up the conversation with the constable magistrate, I'll kind of cock an ear in that direction and say, "Oh, huh. Well, apparently you're about to have some company."
As soon as we come around the corner, Anubis is going to be like, "Kaya,
Anubis, how good to see you again."
And as we pile into this poor woman's room, guessing she looks just as tight as
You
she
actually
did
all
yesterday.
struggle fitting in there. You essentially, a couple of you have to stand outside the door of this small.
And Anubis is happy to do that. He's going to turn to the traveler.
To this, Feliciel, the half elf, kind of looks at, what is this? What do you want, and why?
If
are
he doesn't step forward, Anubis will. But
I'll yield the floor to Anubis.
okay. So Anubis is going to go ahead and step forward and say, "Hello, ma'am. We met you yesterday. We've spoken with the mayor this morning, and
Yes.
he has decided that someone should probably go and at least attempt to retrieve or discover the outcome of the Bradford. Is it Bradford?
Yes, Bradford.
The Bradford party's outcome."
Oh, for fuck's sake! And she throws up her hands and falls back in her chair.
And I wanted, and as soon as she does this,
Lang send you here?
No, we sent us here, ma'am.
I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
Yeah. I'm interested in finding out what information you do have that might make our journey a little safer than the one that the other party went on and failed. What do you actually know about the crimes? What do you actually know about the observations?
I'm just gonna lean over and very quietly say, "Not anything more than we learned last night in the tavern."
Anubis just is nodding and watching her.
So is it your intention, all of you, and she's gesturing to all of you, you're all going to go out and try and find what happened to the Bradford party?
Yes.
Did Carowin talk you into this?
I haven't even met Carowin.
So this is all the mayor's doing?
No, this is our doing. I asked to speak to the mayor.
All right. You're all adults, and I am not going to insinuate myself in this, but I will help you because
Thank you.
I don't want more bodies bleached in the sun sitting out there with buzzards picking at it if I can help it.
It is my greatest aspiration not to be a body bleached by the sun. Indeed.
All right, where are your player notes? There we go.
He's an
Yeah.
arrogant fuck. He's just been being really nice.
She so Carowin digs underneath her into a cabinet that's behind her and kind of picks through some pages and kind of smudges for itself.
Now, Carowin is the lady at the. Carowin is the woman who lost two adventuring children.
Carowin,
right?
as far as you can tell, owns the general store,
Yeah.
is a noble, and lost two of her kids on this
She's
expedition.
also the person that I know, but that Anubis doesn't know, was a friend of the guy that sent Vash to go and meet the caravan. Right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Carowin, or she's also the person that Vash was told by the vendor in the last town that we were in is one of his friends and that he actually does business with on a regular basis.
Actually,
so
he
there's
does
sort of a forward point to her as another honest business
actually,
person.
Kirkland deals with a smithy by the name of Lutger.
No, the guy that we got a great deal on some rations from.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that stayed in the town, in the first town that we were in. The guy that sent
that
Vash.
guy, yes.
Yeah, he mentioned her as just.
He mentioned her, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Ruth knows this, Anubis does not. But yeah, so she's at least, for part of our party, the name is at least somewhat familiar on the standing that she's not a bad guy. Yeah.
So the constable digs out this old map, and you can kind of tell that this is not a professional cartographer's work by any stretch.
Is it as good as a quality as the one that the traveler showed us last night?
It is
No?
It is lesser quality, but
Yeah,
it is a regional map.
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of
bigger.
talks about. Yep.
And Kaya's just gonna cock an eyebrow at her, like, "Oh, so now that there's strength in numbers, you're gonna give me information?"
Exactly.
But in a friendly way, not in a you're a bitch way, but yeah. Now I see where the butter's at.
She looks at that and says, "Well, no. If you're going to be traveling, you're going to need to know the area a little bit." And she whips out this map. Now, did everyone get this map shared to their screen?
Yes, I
Overlay
do have
map?
it.
Okay. So she whips this out and kind of pushes some stuff on the side of her desk and kind of lays this out and starts kind of giving you guys a lay of the land. Here's Oakhurst. Here's the Ashen Plain. But the direction that group took was kind of along the old road into the south to where they believe the Sunless Citadel was. And she kind of points to this crevasse right here. Have you all heard the story of the Sunless Citadel?
I have not.
I am not from here, so no.
Have I heard the story of the Sunless Citadel?
I haven't heard it.
So, in ancient time, and she's actually kind of being like long-winded and like, oh, in ancient times, there was apparently a citadel that was dedicated to, I'm assuming, the dragon Ashadarlon, who is responsible for the Ashen Plain. These are a bunch of dragon worshippers that erected this citadel. And I can't tell you which god they made angry or what natural disaster befell them, but essentially the earth split and swallowed the Sunless Citadel into the rift that exists to the south of us. She gestures on a map. This is about 3 days of travel. The party that Bradford led kind of followed the old road and then head directly south. this is a rough approximation to where he believed that the Sunless Citadel was. Again, this map is older than me by a long shot, and it's not entirely accurate. There's some speculation. She points to a couple other places where the Sunless Citadel really is, but really you'd have to walk the entire rift to properly find it. She pauses, and then she starts rolling up the map and produces a tube from kind of a chest that she has kind of off in a corner, and then hands it to you, Nibson.
Okay, thank you.
This is on loan.
Make sure to bring this
You will
back.
bring this back.
Yeah.
All right.
When she sees what happens to it, her brain's gonna pop. So I'm gonna try and wait until we get outside.
Okay. Do you like swallow it?
Oh no, I'm gonna hand it to the orc that she was giving a hard time to.
So in exchange, she kind of gives you some rough ideas about where everything is in this map and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like just an amateur. This is what the area looks like, and recommends that you head to the Sunless Citadel because that's where the other party was headed.
You estimate that's a couple of days
That's
journey?
That's 3 days journey.
3 days journey. I thank you very much.
Of course.
I
But
understand
again,
your
that's on
concern.
loan. I expect you all to return.
Absolutely.
We expect to return as well.
When we leave the room, she's going to order a new one from Amazon.
Yeah. So I'm
And
just
with
going to
that,
ask her if there's anything else that she remembers or knows or has heard rumors of, things that her guards have told her that she's discredited because they were panicked. Anything at all that she's heard.
I would like to,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
I'd like to ask her do a persuasion check to tell us the things that maybe people don't want us to hear, but we should really know before heading out. Even things that she feels hesitant to share with us.
Yeah, like I said,
make
any
a persuasion
rumors.
check, and if you want to add your guidance on it, you can as well.
Yes, please.
Should I roll or no?
You can roll it with advantage, Vosh, and then you don't have to. Okay.
Nope, he doesn't.
Our first combat.
No, like I said, anything that her guards have said that she rolled her eyes at, all of the information, please.
All right. There's one thing. Actually, I'm not going to tell you. Wait here. She when she says wait here, she gestures to the more common barracks area.
Yeah, bigger area. Yep.
Yep. She shuts the door behind her and she leaves. She returns a few minutes later with one of the other guards.
As soon as she's gone, I'm actually going to just tell out loud where other people can hear me because it's not like it's a secret. I'm just going to catch Kaya up on what happened with the mayor and that he was easily persuaded that perhaps sending strangers would be better than losing more townspeople.
Well,
and
like
so
two
that,
natural 20s persuaded, but
well, yeah, and so that with that as a starting point, we will be going and speaking to the shopkeeper after we meet here and get information, and that we are just going to omit the fact that we are going to risk ourselves as well in any way that we might look like we're better, and instead that we're just going to go and find out what happened to them, and that's why I presented it that way here. So that if she gets rumor mill back, she's still getting just the story that the mayor wanted her to have.
I will reciprocate with everything that I learned, which wasn't anything that was new.
How nice of her to wait until we all showed up. Now I understand the look on your face. Now what, Sean?
She returns, and following her is kind of an older member of her staff, a guard. And she kind of like marches him up in front of you guys and then stops.
All right, Joe, take notes.
And she gestures for him to start, and he's like, you see someone who's a little troubled, who's kind of like struggling to find his words. And after a little bit of goading, he kind of just starts relating this story. So, take notes here. All right. So the story goes, he was doing the rounds, and again, these are the rounds that the accountant and the mayor kind of alluded to, where they are at the periphery of town, checking to make sure people are okay. But this was an evening kind of patrol. He was with another guard, and they were just essentially just kind of checking the the farms and all that, just making sure everyone's okay. And he heard on their rounds, they were at a farm, and a boy from the farm and the farmer were trying to find one of their calves that had just wandered away. The farmer was distraught. He couldn't find his kid. He asked for the guard to go out, and against their better discretion, the guard was wanting to find this kid, and kind of wandered out into the woods to go looking for him. Both of them with torches, kind of yelling for the kid. This was about a half hour that they were searching and kind of straying away from town. And what the guards saw, and the guards became separated because they're trying to spread out, which you never want to do, of course, but they were spread out, and they were both calling. They could hear each other. And he was kind of deeper into the forest when he saw the calf. He just kind of heard this calf mewling a little bit. He ran up to it, hoping that he'd find the kid. The child was not there, but the calf was there. And what he saw will haunt him to this day. But what it seemed like to him was the foliage itself, the brush itself, had skewered this cattle and had lifted it up, and was essentially draining it of blood.
Gonna turn to the traveler again, and then turn back to the gentleman as he's talking. Certainly sounds Druidic to both of us.
And he believes he screamed and ran away. They never found the child.
It's a valid response. Anubis actually says that out loud. That's a valid response.
And they never. And when they returned to that site the next day, while there was some blood here and there, the calf was not found either. And as he says this, the constable kind of chimes in. Dauber is a good man, and I believe everything he says. But
wait,
I
his
mean,
name's actually Dauber.
Dauber.
That is epic.
But you think that's his nickname? But yeah, Dauber. But we were asked to kind of keep this under a tight lid. There's no sense in scaring people. There's no sense in telling them that the trees themselves are chasing people. But
Has there been any other incidents of people going missing that have not been discussed? Because the story I got was that there's no one gone missing, but only from town apparently.
Some people in a couple of townsfolk have gone missing. A lot of travelers who have been going between the towns have gone missing, and of course, there's a lot of livestock and animals that have gone missing as well.
So there is something actively taking townspeople for nefarious purposes or eating them, apparently.
Well, and when you say the eating part, that's where people kind of get quiet, and the constable kind of chimes in. We want people to have hope that their loved ones can be found. Carowin too,
I won't
but
disabuse them of the notion. I just want to be clear that there are things going on that are not being discussed in town
Yes.
because it's being suppressed actively.
We are, yes, this is true.
I can respect that. Citywide panic is a bad thing, but I appreciate the difficulty that you are in. I'm sorry that this is happening. Hopefully, we can do something about it.
You guys try to get some more details from the guard who saw this, but I mean, you're essentially, this is a flash of a moment in his life that just terrified him, where he saw essentially the trees in the forest coming alive and slaughtering this calf in front of him. So he doesn't have a lot of information to impart beyond what he saw, and even he just feels kind of like what he saw is incredulous and like I've never seen anything like it, and he
again.
doesn't want to kind of relive it again. But it's also now they rarely ever go into the woods by themselves at night to go looking for livestock, and only then, and only if someone has gone missing that they actually send people out. But after that, and after what else has happened, very few people wander in the forest at night.
That makes sense.
Yeah, until we know.
All right, we are creeping up on 4 o'clock. This is probably a good point to stop. When we next pick up, you guys will probably be able to start getting your expedition together to go wander about in the forest that you just heard will swallow up and eat you whole.
Or at least your blood.
Yeah.
Woo.
Okay, so
Vampire trees. Did you know that that's a thing in D&D?
I didn't, but now I do. Oh my god.
Anything is possible in the realm of imagination.
Exactly.
That
we're
word
gonna
is
shoot
key now,
19th.
especially with Sean.
We gonna shoot for the 19th?
19 sounds good to me. Yes. What am I going to be doing?
We don't
I
know.
might be traveling on the 19th. Let me play it by ear. I think 19th is okay. If I have to change plans, I'll let everyone know.
Okay.
Is the 18th better? I mean, I know that Sundays work better for.
The 19th would be better if it is
travel. Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's
Because I'll
just
be
find
traveling
out.
on the 18th.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll find out what goes on when we get closer
Very
to that
cool.
date.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Then I will see you all on the 19th.
All
On
righty.
the 19th.
Thank you, Sean.
Woohoo.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Sean. I'll be streaming later on tonight, so I'll be doing a post inside of the Guardians text thing again.
Well, and
Okay,
I have you on my thing now, so I can get right in. So.
Oh, you are awesome. Because tonight is the night I'm hitting affiliate.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to be able to, people will be able to, if they got Amazon